Welcome to a new video. Today, my ruler is holding the microphone because this top kept falling down with the microphone here. So for this video, I have a delusional plan. I want to make 5 garments in 3.5 days. Today is Monday. I am hoping that I can finish them by Thursday at noon because I would love to edit the video and share it on Thursday. So that makes it 3.5 days. I am pretty positive that it's not gonna happen. I don't like to rush myself while I'm doing things. I also don't think that I still have the grasp of all of the vocabulary and the language of the sewing world. And even though the garments that I'm gonna make seem rather simple or at least similar to what I've made in the past, I don't feel that confident to say that I can make 5 garments in 3.5 days. Also because I'm not someone that can stay seated for a long time. I need my breaks. I go in the backyard. I go and look for a little snack. I go and pet the dogs. I just cannot sit there for too long. So I need a lot of breaks throughout my sewing process. All right, so I have 5 garments. 3 of them are tops. One is a pair of shorts and another one is a pair of pants. So I'm thinking both the pants and one of the tops are the most difficult garments to make. So because I want to start on a good note, I think I'm going to start with the 2 most simple ones. At least they seem simple. Hopefully they don't humble me throughout the process. So this is what I have cut already for this top. This is going to be the oh gosh, I forgot the name. The cami top. Initially in my summer sewing plan to make garments, if you haven't seen that, I'm gonna tag that here. I had initially thought that I was gonna make this in a different fabric, but I found this fabric, actually it was a button-down shirt. And I was like, oh, I like that fabric for the cami top. I'm just like dropping everything here. So I wanna start with this one because I'm excited about it and because it seems to be a simple construction. Then the second one is the jean top. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It may be jean top. And this is what I have cut for it. Both of these tops have a lining. So I'm using just like a regular white, I think this was like 50% cotton, 50% polyester from a lining from curtains that I thrifted at some point. I wasn't really excited to use that, but it was all I had that was not super thick. And that, yeah, I just felt like lining kind of like material. Not so excited about the polyester in there. Hopefully it's not a problem. Next, this is the fabric that I'm gonna use for the protea pants, which I'm really looking forward to making. And I do love the feeling of the fabric. However, the color, even though I love it on its own because it is like this off-white kind of like what we call usually in Spanish like bone color. I love it on its own, but it is definitely a type of like cream that has a little bit too much yellow in it. And it is almost like it doesn't have any like red in it to give it like warmth. I don't know if you can tell compared to this that I'm wearing. I don't really think that you can see it, but this cream has a little bit of red in it and it makes it easier to wear with basically everything that I own. This one, however, because of that yellow hue in it, it's kind of harder to actually pair with the things that I own. That's what I've found with the poppy top. I hope it doesn't become a problem to kind of like find things in my closet that would go well with this type of ivory color. I am putting together the back bodice piece because since I'm using an upcycled button-down shirt that I found at the thrift store, which by the way, I didn't mention, this is, I think it's 50% linen and 50% cotton. And that's why I also like really liked it. But I'm putting together this panel because I didn't have a piece wide enough for the back. I prioritized getting the full width of the front bodice from the back of the button-down shirt. And for this, I just basically got, you know, each piece out of the sides of the button-down shirt. And this is what I still have left from this shirt, which makes me think that I want to do something else with it because I still have a good amount of fabric. And Instead of using a pattern, I think what I'm gonna do is that I am gonna use what I have here and just trying to like, you know, cut things off and make something wearable. Definitely not in this video because again, I just wanna make these 5 garments. We live by the end of the month and I would like to make this happen so that I can bring that with me. I think this is going rather well. I think it's like 4:30. The blouse has a shape now. I am a little concerned that the armhole may be a little too low or like too narrow, short, small. Basically, I'm concerned that my boob is gonna be out on the sides. I don't know. We'll see. I came here to the side so you can see better what I'm talking about. So wait, let me just fix this, what I have underneath. See what I'm talking about? Like this is kind of questionable. We'll see. I'm like really afraid of cutting the fabric or, you know, the garment when I'm using the overlocker, that I almost always miss like a curve because I'm just really afraid to cut the fabric. What are the tips to overlock curves with the blade on or engaged? I'm so afraid of ruining everything because I have. It is Tuesday and I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish yesterday. I ended up finishing one top, which I will be sharing all of the final pieces at the end of the video. And so I am ready to tackle the Jean Gen top this morning. I think I'm gonna really fail at showing you snippets of the process of this top. It's coming together really quick. And I actually do love sewing things like this where the bodice or like one whole piece is put together by putting together multiple pieces. I don't know if that's making any sense, but I think it is making sense, but that's probably not the best way to describe it. But yeah, it feels like a little puzzle that it comes together quickly, but not so quickly. So it's really satisfying to see it just like when it's all together. I am remembering though that when I saw this top, I thought that maybe the neckline was a little too high. I want to wait a little bit before I make any changes. I want to see maybe the instructions and see at what point I have to finish the neckline and see if maybe I can cut it. I'm a little worried that maybe because the back of this top has like very small panels, like basically this is the panel for the top, I mean for the back. I worry that if I cut the neckline a little too low, that it would become like kind of like weird, that the fabric won't sit where it's supposed to because the back is so open. Does that make sense? So we'll see if I even need to cut it. Maybe I can just be okay with the height of the neckline. We'll see. But I like where this is going. I'm going to do this exact same thing for the lining now. I realized that the pattern actually called for ribbon for this area to tie, I guess, the neckline, or yeah, the neckline in the back. But I just did like a little strap with the same fabric. And I have also sewn the back belt as the pattern calls it to see how it's fitting. So in the front, I am having like this weird wrinkles. I have to look at myself in the mirror, but it may be that, I tied it a little too tight in the back. So I need to go see if that's what's happening. However, what the pattern does mention is that the reason why we are trying it on at this stage is because gaping can happen here in the back. And actually, you may see my computer where I have the video instructions. I actually went to the video tutorial, which is really helpful. So now I am going to try to fix this, which is fixed by adding a little dart here. And the instructions guide you to do it. So that should be fairly easy. Other than that, and sorry that I moved all the way here, yeah, I think I tied the back a little too tight, and that's why it's like creating all of these wrinkles. Let me fix that. Okay, I think it is a little bit better. What is also happening is that the neckline is just way too high. So I think that is also kind of like creating something weird. I wanted to quickly show you the adjustments that I'm going to make. So I caught the neckline, which feels a lot better for me. However, with that cut, as expected, I have more fabric, like extra fabric that is not sitting well on my body. So I have this amount of fabric that I think if I sew that here, so get rid of this extra fabric, this top will sit much better on my chest area. And then I am going to do the dart here, and I am going to replicate the same thing on the right side. It was just easier for me to access this side of my body and add the pin here. Okay, so I added the darts. I brought him in towards my bust quite a bit because I did 2 different darts, and this was the third one, and I'm staying here. The first one was a little too short and it was a little too narrow, so I was still getting that gaping here. It's much better. I think the nature of the blouse, it's still going to have that little bit of a gaping here, which I'm fine with. But for the dart, once I added the dart here, now I was getting like this, like a weird wrinkle here. And so I brought it in, and that seemed to be fine. And then for this, I haven't really pressed this, but I already cut the seam allowance that I had extra there. And I am quite happy with the way this looks now. Now I have to make these changes for the lining, and I'll move on to the instructions and hopefully finish it soon before lunch, which is already a little late, but it's fine. You guys, I hate when this happens. And it's happened to me pretty much every time I've had to use straps. I put them in the wrong side. So now I turned my blouse inside out, and all of my things are inside the lining and the main fabric. It is Wednesday and only two garments have been finished. And I am not surprised. This is exactly what I expected. I'm not in a stage of my sewing journey where I feel like I am super fast or like I know exactly what I'm doing. I make mistakes all the time. I have to read the instructions for the patterns or for the garments a million times before I even understand what they're telling me to do. I mean, I guess that is getting a little bit better, but yeah, I'm still in the process of learning, and I'm really afraid of making a mistake when I think I know what to do next, but the pattern is telling me to do it in a specific way. I think it's a combination of being afraid of making a mistake and then having to, undo everything, and also wanting to learn different ways to do things, because if there is something that I have been learning from following different patterns is that there are so many different ways to do one thing that it is cool to get to learn all of the different ways that I can actually make something happen. So we went for a walk this morning. It was absolutely beautiful. And I came back home and I feel energized and I feel like tackling the protea pants instead of the shorts. In my head, I was going to tackle the three simpler projects first, and then I would go into the protea pants and the other blouse. But I am feeling like I want to tackle the pants today. So I'm going to start on that. So I got a projector. I actually got it a few months ago, but it took me a while to set it up. I finally set it up like a couple weeks ago, and I've used it like 2 or 3 times. And the first time that I used it, I didn't like that it was not very precise. Like, first of all, I have to use a rotary cutter, which I don't prefer. I actually like cutting with scissors. It's enjoyable for me to cut with scissors. The rotary cutter is okay. I just don't enjoy it, but it's okay. So I was already like, I don't know if I love this so much. And while I was cutting, when the rotary cutter is going through the fabric naturally kind of like wrinkles a little bit, like a little wave as the rotary cutter is moving that, those molecules of the fabric. And so the line of the projection, it's kind of like wobbly when that happens. And so I was like, I'm not sure if I'm loving this. So the next time I used it, I said, let me try to project this on paper so that I can use the paper and maybe I can trace with a pencil or whatever I have on hand on the paper and then cut the paper. So as I'm doing it, I'm having exactly the same issue. But as I'm doing this, I'm like, wait, this is actually taking me longer than printing the pattern, cutting the pattern and taping the pattern, or vice versa. I guess we do have to cut first, tape, and then cut again, unless you fold the edges of the paper when you print at home. And to be honest, that is a process that I don't mind at all, because I can bring that to like my living room. I can watch TV while I do that. Sure, I'll have to like make a little space for myself to do that or whatever I am doing that, but it is something that I can do like at night while I'm watching something with my husband. It doesn't have to be like the sewing kind of like hours that I allocate during my day, I can actually do that while I'm also spending time with my husband. So I'm doing this on the ground. That's another thing. I have to use the projector on the ground because I don't have a table big enough. So while I'm tracing this projection, I'm thinking, does this even make sense to me to use this projector when I actually like cutting with scissors? I like that I can spend time with my husband while I tape together little papers, when I print the pattern at home. Does this make any sense? And I'm still having to trace, like for example, for the protea pants, I trace the pattern on paper and then I cut the paper and then I use that paper to cut the fabric, right? But for the waistband, for example, for the protea pants, there is a curve, like the waistband is curved, it's not straight. And so I didn't want to like hand trace that line. So I used rulers, like tailor's rulers, and I'm still having to kind of like figure out the curve so that it matches correctly to the waistband. So it was taking me way too long. And I'm still in the back of my head thinking, is this exactly the curve that the designer of the protea pants intended to have for these patterns? Or am I tweaking it a little bit because I'm trying to trace it with a projector that already is making it not so accurate? All of this to say that I don't think the projector is for me, at least with this type of patterns. Or I don't know, maybe I can have other uses for it, but while I was using the projector, I called my husband and I was like, can you buy me more letter size paper? Because I made the decision right there that for future patterns, I will be printing them again and I'm not gonna be using my projector. I'm not done talking about the projector because something actually just happened where I'm like, see, this is exactly the reason why I like to have the patterns printed on paper, and so that I can easily access them and double check whether I am doing the right thing. Historically, I have struggled a lot with waistbands, and I think that is because somehow when I cut them, I just like I do weird things and they end up looking wonky or being wonky. And so just now that I was putting the interface on the waistband here, I'm like, wait, this is actually looking kind of weird. It looked like one side was bigger than the other. So I was like, let me double check the pattern. And so I had the pattern on paper. And like I said, I did use the projector with that, but that is actually another point. I realized that I like to have the paper, the physical paper to touch. That is something else that I really enjoy, having something, the tangible thing, so that I can compare and make sure that I'm doing the right thing. Also, I forget notches all the time, so I like to have the paper there. And maybe for some of us, the answer is gonna be like, just triple check when you're cutting the pattern. But honestly, life is hard enough already in other areas of my life. I like to have an area of my life where things are forgiving, where if I make a mistake, I can easily go back and maybe fix that, make it better. So yeah, I love having the physical paper pattern. I have been totally consumed and focused doing the protea pants because they are really fun to make. I don't know what it is. I was thinking about that. I'm trying to figure out what it is about certain patterns and certain garments that are just fun to make, and others I don't enjoy as much. These ones I'm like really enjoying. And if I had to guess, I really like the kind of like out of the box things or learning new things and the details. I don't know, like there are some darts new for me that you have to do for the pleats on this pants. And I love kind of like using my pen and adding those lines and marking. And I don't know, it's just fun. I don't know if I'm going fast. I don't know if I'm going slow. I have no idea how much is left. But looking at what I have done, I'm pretty sure there's a lot left to do. But this is very enjoyable right now. I got distracted watching the Argentina and England game, and so I had to redo the zipper like 5 times, maybe 3, maybe 4. Maybe the 4th one was the last one. And then the game was over and I went back to just giving my full attention to the making of the pants. And this just happened. I caught it in the blade in the overlocker. It is the most heartbreaking thing ever because it is in the front leg. So this is how far I have. So I have the front panel. I was actually connecting the back panels to the pants, and that's when I made that mistake, sewing or overlocking the inseam. And so I'm thinking what to do now. You guys, I need to start with showing you the Protea pants because this is a miracle. I thought this project was already done, finished, in the trash, and somehow it turned out to be amazing. I believe the last update I gave you was when I accidentally cut the pants with the serger, with the overlocker. So the bad luck for this pants didn't end there. I looked at the instructions. I think it was around 7 p.m. when that happened, and I was like, no, I'm done with it for the day. Tomorrow's gonna be a new day, and that's it. I'm going to walk away from it. The next morning, I wake up, I look at them on my table, and I'm like, oh, do I even want to tackle this? Like, should I start over? Oh, but I did skip a really important part. When I first walked in the room and I saw the pants, I tried them on because at that point I had already closed like the sides. It was good enough to try on and see how they were fitting. And they were really big on me. I don't know if because the fabric is so soft, it had stretched out so much that it really looked like it was at least 2 sizes bigger for me. I realized that now it was not like this precious thing that I needed to be careful with every single thing, which, you know, I also like being detailed, as I've mentioned a couple times in this video. But also I do like when I have that sense of like, oh, this is whatever now. I can explore. I can just make it messy. And so the crotch was actually really long. It was 2 inches longer than it is now. I just went with my scissors and I cut the front pants. I think I also cut 1/2 inch from the back. Is this technically correct? No, it's not. But I was like, whatever, let's just see what happens. When I'm doing that, I'm cutting it, I accidentally clip the fabric again in like here, in the inner thigh. And I'm like, really? Great. But at that point I was like, whatever. I just fixed it, I hand stitched it, and I kept going. The last step before hemming is cutting open the base stitches that we do for the pleats. And so once these pleats were open, I noticed that the pants were quite baggy, to the point that I was like, you know what? I think I can kind of like bring them in a little bit from the side seam and fix that little cut from the serger, because the cut was 2 centimeters in from the original edge of the pants when I cut the pattern, meaning the seam allowance for this pattern is 1 centimeter. So I still had a centimeter of that clipped fabric. So I actually brought them in 1 centimeter more so that I got rid of the clipped fabric or the hole that I had. So now they come in a little bit inwards. And actually, I think that you can tell a little bit, especially on this leg. For whatever reason, you can tell more here. This is supposed to be straight, but you can see that it comes in just a little bit right after the pocket. I don't think it's as visible on this side. But honestly, these pants are so comfortable that that little thing, I just don't care. I really don't care. The changes that I made make them fit so well. Oh, I'm skipping a part. Because they were so big from the waistline, I added 2 extra darts here. I actually chose a size between 8 and 10. Size 8 was exactly my size, at least for the waist size, the circumference, but it was exactly my size the day that I took the measurements. So I was like, oh, I don't know if that's gonna be tight. So I graded between size 8 and 10 for the waistband or for the waist line. And again, I'm not sure if the fabric stretched or maybe I shouldn't have done that because I ended up having to take in more with the extra darts that I added here. So I did write down the changes that I made because I'm definitely making this pants again, and hopefully next time I don't make as many mistakes. But also I will talk more about the mistakes that have happened in this whole process because they are really, really important for what is happening in my mind and with my creativity. Okay, next up is the Gen top. And this one is quite a learning lesson. Okay, so first thing that I need to mention. So I think the last thing I recorded was when I was making the changes to adding the darts and something else I changed. I can't remember. Oh, the neckline. And I was happy with those changes. It was fitting well. And then the last step was adding or sewing the lining and then finishing this edge. So I did that and I put it on and I'm like, So the lining made the blouse be quite baggy, and I have a lot of extra, maybe not a lot, but I have extra fabric here, which it makes it feel kind of weird. There's like some bagginess happening here and kind of like a wrinkle here. Also, even though the back, I think is kind of like the best part of this top, like it fits quite well. I'm learning with everything that I'm making, what type of silhouettes I like for myself, or not even for myself, just like in general, aesthetically, what I like and what I don't like. The idea of an open back, I really like it, but there's something about the shape of it that I don't love exactly. Like I think I would have liked the side panels in the back to come in just a little bit more and show less from the back. And then again, I don't have like a logical explanation of like why. I just think like aesthetically for me, whatever proportions are happening there, I would like the back to be a little bit more covered on the sides. I haven't washed any of these garments after I have finished sewing them. And I've learned with the Almain top, I may be saying that wrong. After I washed it, I actually like that top so much more because it shrunk a little bit and it fits so much better for me. So it may happen with this one. As of now, I'm not quite sure if I am going to end up wearing this. So yeah, I guess I'll give you updates on whether I wash it and it fits better or not. Okay, this may be my favorite make, but also the most painful one to share. Because I had already mentioned, I was worried that maybe the fit of this top was not really going to be the best for my body shape. And indeed, it is kind of weird. Okay, so I'm even a little bit cautious to turn sideways because, as expected, this cut of this top is way too open for me. I believe the actual thing that is happening is that the armhole is too wide or too big on me. I need something smaller here so that it gives me more coverage. I do love the overall shape of this blouse. I love that you just feel like you're wearing nothing. I love the details of the making process. I also really love the back on this top. Yeah, it's just really, really comfortable. But again, it is not fitting great on me. I love the fabric. I love like this outfit. I can see how I would wear this all the time. The silver lining is that I did try it on with a strapless and it looks great with a strapless. So I think I will be wearing this. It is not exactly what I wanted and not exactly how I want it to fit, but I think I can make it work and wear it. I also got this little purse from Anthropologie the other day. They were having a 50% off all their sale items. And I actually wanted to make a purse like that. Like, look at this cute outfit. Like, isn't this like so cute? This is not the most comfortable thing, but it's cute. All right, the last thing that I want to say is that obviously I didn't meet my goal and my intention to make 4 or 5 garments in this video, or I didn't even make it to the day that I wanted to have the video ready and share with you. But what I have gained from the process of making this garment has been invaluable. When I finished the pants and I saw that they were kind of like tapered in a little bit more than the original design is meant to do, my mind went to all of these different scenarios of how I could turn this pants into a different shape. So now what I'm experiencing is that my creativity is just going like wild, thinking about all of these different shapes and silhouettes that I can work on and that I can design myself, because the thing that I was working on didn't turn out to be how it was intended to be. Same thing with this top. I love this kind of style of tops, but I've realized in the 2 times that I've tried to make similar tops, I've had a similar situation and I have difficulty with the straps and the length of the straps. And so that also just activated my mind and my creativity on how to design tops like this, where that can be a little bit more flexible and then it can turn into an interesting kind of design and garment. So I'm walking away from this week of not meeting my expectations with this sense and feeling of, oh my God, there are so many things that I can explore because things didn't turn out how I wanted them. So now I'm thinking, how can I make him different? And so I am so excited for the next things that I will be making, especially the ones where I'm not following patterns, because I think these patterns also showed me that I've been a little bit shy and a little bit fearful to try things on my own. I've mentioned that I am taking a pattern making class, and I realized that I've been scared to try things on my own. And so it feels very safe to follow a pattern. However, again, my creativity and my imagination are like, it is time for you to just try things differently and try them on your own. So with that said, I'm gonna leave this video here because I have chatted so much in this video. Let me know how your process has been when things haven't turned out the way that you expected them, and I will see you soon. Why are you so cute?